a rapper that came in there. Dragon came into the doggone from Rough Riders. Dragon had his album come out. Dragon came to the city on 87th and Cottage Grove when his album was coming out. He came there to sign autographs and for people that was buying his records and all that. Dragon sat in there and gave up everything. You would not believe one of my main sources was dragged to the dash. Dragon. Dragon sat there and I wasn't a George Music Room guy too much. But I might have been there. We used to just call it the store over there. Then you had Coops Underground. Coops Underground was closest to me. So I would always go to Coops. And if Coops didn't have it yet, I go on 87. But 87 normally had everybody show up there. Like most of the rappers didn't go on Stony. On like what was it, 92nd? 92nd and Stony Island? Where Coops Underground used to be. And I had that big Wu-Tang medallion. But see, here's the thing. We would have these meetings in there to try to keep the black businesses. All the black business owners were fighting big corporate, major corporations and trying to tell them, hey, it's important that you buy black. But like the CDs, they couldn't give you the sale price. They couldn't give it to you on sale. For Target put all their music CDs on sale. If you buy it the first week, you get it for $9.99. They gotta sell it to you at $16.99. They have no choice. It's like, look, it's $16.99. That's what it is. There's no wiggle room around it. There's no way around that. It's what it is. They gotta sell it to you. But they was like, look, if you buy 10, hit your punch card, and when you get the 10, come back, and we'll give you a free CD. That's what they used to do. And they was like, for somebody who was showing dedication. So me, I've always was hitting the 10 because I'm buying 2, 3 CDs a pop. But I always bought it from there. I wouldn't buy it from Target. I'm like, I'm buying it from y'all. I don't care. Here's the $20. And he was like, man, you get it, man. I try to tell these people, man, it's just that you can't, when they see something for $9.99, they gotta buy it. So when you have different like rap artists come around and do the things that they're doing, it changes the game. It changes the whole spectrum on what's going on out here in the world. Because at that time, rap artists, the radio station wasn't bringing them all out. They were taking the big rap names. If you're like LL Cool J ain't finna go to 87th Cottage. You know, you might get to see Redman there. Redman to show up, and these are the people you want to see. The people that you want to see is not somebody that's gonna be on TV and the radio. The artists you like would show up to the hoods. Because that was the core of where their money was coming from. The hood. The hood was supporting them. Suburbanites wasn't playing Redman at first. That became once How High hit, then, like, oh, okay, Redman. Redman was 3 albums in. Suburbanites didn't even know they thought he just came on the scene. So we kept Redman going. The hoods, every hood in the United States of America, we kept that train moving. was so many different things that went on at that time, but we were more unified and more discipline was there. And this is why I'd be like, okay, we gotta start asking the real questions. You know what I'm saying? We gotta start asking and getting involved because we always delegate it for somebody else to worry about. We bitch about it, but then we delegate it to somebody else. That's what we do all the time. So, and if you're not gonna be part of the solution, don't be part of the problem. You can't say I want this, I want that, and I want this, but you ain't willing to do anything to help yourself get it. So when you start looking at the big picture, you losing. They had Keisha Cole come here, and then they had Lisa Ray came back to Chicago. She was just there for the, I think they had the Players Club soundtrack, and she was just there doing this. The brat lived here, but she was always there. You had Chris Carls had showed up, and they had to shut it down. Bow Wow came and they had to shut it down. Uh, but at that time, rappers was getting their money from the hood, and then a lot of the stuff started changing once they reached certain levels and areas they weren't supposed to be going in. Like the hoods became more dangerous, and if you wasn't a hood guy or a guy from a hood, period, you weren't gonna fit in. And I never forget they put the guy, one of the rappers was like, "Where is that?" "Oh, I'm not going." And he was like, "Dog, we just going to the hood, meet the people, sign some autographs, get some love." And one of the artists that was with them was like, "Oh, I ain't going there." And you knew right away that, yeah, I remember that interview, Rick, that Chicago interview. I remember that with Keisha Cole. She said something crazy because it was in Chicago, and that's when she was there, and we met her and everything, and she was so cool and chilled out, and she was so hood. Ray and Ghost basically killed a lot of they when Pink House, rest in peace to Pink House. When they came here that time, they got shot at, and they basically made Pink House pay them for a promo run that they was doing for free to promote their album, and then they end up having to pay them, or they was just gonna walk out. And once they did that, like they songs being played anywhere in the hood radio, it was dead. That was all dead. When it was time to promote, Capadonna came by himself. Ray and Ghost didn't come with Kappa. Kappa came with some of the people that he knew from Park Hill. These were some of his people. It was not one other Wu-Tang member with Capadonna. Now, when the first time he came, when they did the whole thing when shooting, Kappa was there that night. And back then he was known as Cappuccino. But he had to change his name because somebody else's name was Cappuccino. And he couldn't use that name. There was another rapper named Cappuccino. So they called him, he changed his name to Capadonna. The master of the plan, Tony Stark's Cappuccino. So when they found out that Cappuccino came along and got on the track, and did it, like, it was epic when he came on the scene. But when his album came out, when Capadonna album was finna drop, and he's finna put the pillage out, Donna came here on his own. Ray and Ghost did not come back to Chicago. They was at the Congress Theater now. So when they came back out here, it wasn't like on the South Side. They kept it on the Congress. So when they came all together that time, everybody was strapped to the T. The Wu-Tang came out and did their thing. Like, the Wu-Tang came and held it down. Everybody was strapped. Like, they had like guns. It was everywhere. Then Ghostface album came out. And it was like every time, something would happen. Each and every time I would go to a Wu-Tang concert. I swear to you, every single time I would go to a Wu-Tang concert, something happened. Me and this girl was going to go to the Wu-Tang concert. My oil tank hit something. They was doing something on the road, and my oil tank got hit. And then all the oil ran out the car, and then the car just cut off. So I had to get oil put into the car. And all the oil had flooded the starter because it was pouring out. So I had to get a new starter, and they had to seal the tank. The damage that was done. They welded that back together, put some oil in there. They tried to charge me for a new engine too. It was some BS. But when I got home, I could have still went to the concert. I was just like, went through so much hell that day, getting the car towed back and everything else. And me and my grandfather put that starter back on the car. And he basically had me do it while he coached me on what to do. So we basically put the starter in there together. You know, good times. Now, as for me, I've always kept it a little light. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kept it like the lights on, man. Like, I was entirely different when it came to these situations. Trying to be positive and upbeat, but I was just like, didn't have the energy to go. So the next time it comes back around was Ghost then was up there. But that time when my car got messed up and everything else, it was all the Wu-Tang was coming that day. And man, when you want to talk about the most guns anybody had probably ever seen, everybody snuck them a gun. I don't know where they got these guns. Wu-Tang was prepared for war if anything went left. But they were out north on the Congress Theater, which is a lot different than being out south. So, and the Congress is like right off the train. I mean, you can get right off the train and you right there. So That's where I got to hang out with Jungle and Nation and all the people that was with Nas crew. I mean, Nas had Nas basically had a tour bus, and they were driving in a Lexus. You know, driving in a Lexus, keeping up with a tour bus, putting all the miles on your Lexus. That was crazy. Nas was so it was so different than when Wu-Tang was here and when Nas showed up, but this was at different stages. Now we talking a whole different type of era. I wish I could remember the name of the artist, man. The one who didn't make it. You know, that's what make it sick with me. The artist who didn't make the trip. Oh, they cut the live? Okay. That's dirty. Well, gosh, I can't remember that. But it was a lot of rappers at that time that wouldn't come out. You know what I'm saying? They just because they didn't come from the hood. So if you didn't come from the hood, you weren't gonna be in those environments. You know what I'm saying? So when you see when you see the how could I put this? When you see the actual when you see the actual thing live and seeing all these people who was around the situations like Rosa, Imani, Azariah, all these people who were they worked as the people who did the booking for a lot of these hip hop artists from New York and Jersey. So if you was in New York and the Jersey area, those were the people you were going through. They was handling all of the booking, making sure you got from here to there and talking to your managers. So I knew about a lot of inner bookings and a lot of scenery, things that was happening behind the scenes back then. You know, as far as paperwork, dealing with record company execs, they the ones that did all the talking to these people. You know, I would love to see them on a podcast. Somebody could find them and do a podcast with them, but right now they're probably in their 60s. You know, and you know, that's cool, but I'm just saying they probably just in different walks of life. I don't know where they are today, but these people were very influential in getting hip hop spread it out to these neighborhoods, making sure that they were safe, you know, and going to certain areas. But there were certain rap artists that wouldn't do that. Like I said, some artists were too big to do it. Like LL Cool J wasn't finna go at that level in time. He couldn't go there because he would be arrested for inciting a riot. If LL would have went in there back then, it would just blow everything out the door. You know, LL was that guy. So when LL showed up or somebody, that would have just ravaged the entire thing. Like Biggie used to do it when he first came out, but he blew so fast that you couldn't put Biggie out there like that. When Biggie came to Chicago in '96 after Pac died, they saw the gravitational change because Chicago loved Biggie, but a lot of people booed him. Like, because this is like, I'm trying to think, was Pac gone at that time? I don't know if Pac was dead yet. I don't think Pac was dead yet. This is probably right before Pac died, because Hit 'Em Up was out. And everybody was Pac, Pac, Pac. So everybody was Pac'd out. So Hit 'Em Up was out and all that. So when Biggie was performing, like all these songs he was performing was pretty much old at this point. Everybody was like, okay, well, where's the new songs? He was doing like One More Chance still and Big Papa, and he was bringing back the Dan Ryan head, Doug Banks, who passed away now, but he was the huge radio DJ at the time at WGCI, and he had left, and he went to the West Coast, I think, did all this money or whatever, ended up coming back. Doug Banks and the Tom Joyner morning show, that used to be the biggest thing in Chicago. So when he came back and they were bringing him back, they had Biggie bring him back. So it's just a different day and age, man, in hip hop. Because what we didn't know, because we were so young, is that they weren't rich. They wasn't making a lot of money. It was a job. And it was like they job, like they wanted to do for their life, but they wasn't no like I got millions of dollars. Most rappers didn't even have a house. They was still living with their moms. It was some rappers still living with their moms. And some was like they couldn't even afford to really live on their own. They was parting it up, living with their manager, staying at a rental place that one of the other person they couldn't even afford it. Rappers didn't start making like it was about 3, 4 rappers probably making really good money. If you wasn't Run DMC, the Fat Boys, LL Cool J, you really wasn't making that money. That's 3 groups right there I could think of off the top of my head. MC Hammer came and just burst in, made his money and got out. Vanilla Ice came in, made a little money, and then lost it. But I'm talking about people with sustained rap careers at that time. Rakim wasn't making that money. Big Daddy Kane wasn't making that money. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to think about all of the rap artists out there. They really wasn't getting paid like that. Heavy D and the Boys was. Will Smith came through when he got in, but like I'm saying, that's more '90s. Once the '90s hit, like once 90 past 95, rappers weren't really making money because it was still looked at as a John Doe business. Rappers would have to cross over to the pop world in order to make money. Once LL Cool J became like a mega star, he's on magazines, he's everywhere, and he could transcend over into the other market. That's when your dollars are. Run DMC transcended with Walk This Way. That's when the market opens up, and you're in a whole different bracket than being in what they would call the chitlin circuit. So if you go down that pattern of the road, then you can see where it's all designed for you to fail. So hip hop had expeditiously jumped the shark thanks to Biggie and Pac. And not because thanks to them losing their lives. I mean, they opened the door with their music. They deaths isn't what opened the door. They just didn't get a chance to really enjoy the fruits of their labor. But you look at Tupac, he wasn't. He was on the cusp of getting ready to make some money and get himself out of debt. And you would think, man, he sold 5 million records. Why would he be in debt? Because the record contracts and all the things that were there and designed, they weren't designed to keep you rich. They were designed to keep you poor. This never was in favor of the artist. It was always pro company. And it's been like that for a very long time. Well, when you look at scenarios and you look at the way you look at, I don't know, like history, basically. Life has told you different things. Life tells you things evolve. And when you give people money in place of, you give them money in place of, you know, ownership, rights, when you give people money in place of that, they don't see the work. They don't see down the road, so they end up losing everything. And it's just not the way it should be. Now, when you look at how things were designed, you're basically looking at a design flaw that Nipsey saw, and he had to learn on the cusp, is knowing your value and not writing away your ownership. See, by Nipsey putting out that $100 CD, selling a CD for $100. Sure, you're not gonna sell it to everybody in the world, but for anybody who buy it, he's basically saying, "I know the worth of my CD." And it was like Jay-Z bought one because he thought that was a great marketing scheme and everything. He liked it, but he meant it. He was like, "Look, I'm gonna sell mine for $100 because I know what mine's worth. I know what my music is worth to me. Y'all can sell y'all's for whatever the price. I'm gonna sell it for $99. I might not sell as many as copies as everybody else, but at least I know mine's worth $99." So when you put that kind of effort into something that you believe in, that's normally the results. Female rappers would never get any money. Not like that. Um, that's why Queen Latifah, she had to go into acting to get her money. She had the Flavor Unit and all that, but you know, Tretch was getting majority of the money because he was writing the records. When you don't write your own records, you're in trouble. You look at Foxy Brown. Dog, she was getting royalty checks for like $6. I swear to you, like less than that. Her royalty checks was like not good at all. Yeah, she was complaining that she wasn't getting money. She got ripped off on a record deal. You weren't writing songs. You got paid as an artist. You didn't produce the music. You didn't do any of these things. So this is how Beyonce started to make her money in the game. They started letting Beyonce write some of her own songs so that she would get credit for some of the things she was doing. But other people were writing, like Carrie Hilson, and she basically exposed the fact that she was writing records and stuff like that, and they blackballed her career for bringing that out to the light. Because some of these people are just so super sensitive about every single thing that they do. Well, you got to look at it. There are a lot of different instances that transpired in the world that people just don't see with their own eyes. It's like you need somebody to clear the waves and get everything back working on a playing field where it's like, okay, I see everything working to its perfection, and I don't understand why it isn't working, but it should be working. You feel me? So I I really don't understand the game now. It's so corrupt. It's so screwed up. This was $1 billion business, and it's reduced to rubbles because people took money in place of empowerment. When Biggie and Pac was gone, now 1999, 2000, rap had generated $1 billion. It was no longer some mom and pop, thing. This was real. This was real money, and it was affecting real change. What started off as a juvenile thing has now turned into music culture, and now they got to figure out how they're going to market this and make money off of it, all of it. Rappers decided, okay, I know how to get my money. Because the only way you were going to get your money as a rapper in those days, and that was, rappers figured it out. You have to have a label. That's how you get your money. Because you're never going to generate as much money as you can make off your other artists. Your name means something, and you can make money off of your name. But as far as the records being sold and all that, making an album, once you realize that, man, I'm not really making nothing off of the album. Yeah, the songs are hot and the videos are great and the people love the records. But as far as me having money in the bank, I can't eat props. Like my kids can't eat no props. I'm getting a lot of You the Best, and the album is dope, but I can't, my kids ain't eating off that. So when you put out an artist where you're the boss, you're getting the money and you're paying them. Now down the road, they're going to say you ripped them off because they don't understand the record business. They think, okay, wow, I got these jewels on, I got this car, I got all of these things. Yeah, they over splurge and spoil you with all of these gifts, and then you realize that you're paying yourself. down the road. And they taxing you for it. Like, no, that was you. This is it. That was you. That was you. This is you. That is you. Yep, all you. So it make you think like, man, damn. What was I doing? So it is what it is, man. Uh, a lot of rappers had to travel together. It wasn't like I said back in the days. It was like your crew had to get along with crews that you might not like because this was it. It wasn't like I'm gonna get my own gig. It wasn't like that. Now you got like 2, 3 show places having shows. It was crazy. The money that was coming in at that time was like you wouldn't believe it. Biggie was bragging about doing a deal where he was gonna get paid 30 G's a show. That was huge. No rapper was getting that. No rapper was getting 30 G's a show. None. So he would have been the first to do a show and get paid 30 G's a show. Like Tupac wasn't getting that. You know what I'm saying? Like rappers really, I mean, Pac was charging 5,000 a feature. 5,000 a feature. Can you imagine that? You could have a Tupac feature for 5,000? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have no idea how mom and pop this business really was for a long time. For a very long time. And nobody knew how much the record company executives was getting. Like they didn't know how much Suge was getting. They just knew the company was making money, but they didn't know how much Suge was actually making. And how he was making the money and keeping the royalties and doing all the things that make the money he was doing. So of course you're gonna look at him and say, you ripped me off. He didn't. Oh man, it was so many people involved during that time, man, it was crazy. It was super crazy. You have you got a jealous dude to your left, a jealous dude to your right, and you got to do business with all of them. I don't want to say that it caused a lot of controversy out there, but there's a lot of jealous people that was like in the business, especially if you're in the rap business and you're a rapper. And being in the rap business is a competitive. If you feel like somebody else is getting more love than you will be a little jealous or, you know, not welcoming to their success. And you see it a lot. A lot of the jealous ones, you see it pour out. Now, somebody who was like, I wouldn't say they were just jealous, they just didn't like anybody, really. And that was X. X had gotten to that point where, if you show love to X and like basically bow down to him, it was good. But if you really didn't, they didn't like you. My man Prodigy P was a hater. I mean, that's how P was a hater. Straight up and down. P Prodigy, rest in peace. I love him to death, but dude was a hater. He didn't like anybody. He was just like he ain't like DMX at all. Thought DMX was the worst rapper that ever hit touch the doggone screen. He hated DMX. Like, man, it's just trash rap. Oh man, yeah. Some of the stuff I gotta say for the Patreon, but I want to have just a sit back and shoot the shit moment with y'all, and definitely talk about a lot of the stuff that's happening in this whole world, man. It involves rappers, entertainers. It's the same thing. You're not going to have anything, okay, if you don't fight for what you have right now. If you don't start unifying, if you don't start getting involved, and you following a pattern where if you're not changing anything, nothing's gonna get done. The world has no more use for a man with no plans. No ideas. Let's sit down. Let's unify. Let's try to come up with something that works. But they know it's hard because they're going to keep you divided. It's billions of dollars spent on keeping you divided. Have you noticed you're the only race that is divided? The only one. Mexicans roll with Mexicans just because they're Mexican, and that's cool. The Argentinian, they roll with Argentinas just because they from Argentina, and that's cool. Everywhere in the world, Chinese people can roll with other Chinese people and support them, and it's all love. When you support another black person, they get mad at you and say, hey, you got to look at everybody. You can't just root for him just because he's black. That's just not fair. Why? You ever notice that? People are just oblivious to all these things. So, anyway, I hope I didn't bore you guys. I wanted to come in here and just do this. Hopefully you like this video. Hit the like button, man. Subscribe to the page. And definitely, if you got the Patreon, the Casino for Life Patreon, we have more there. It's a lot more detailed stuff that's going to kick off there. So definitely, you thought we blew your mind yesterday. That's nothing compared to what's going to come down the road. So, get ready. That's what I'm saying. Get on board now. Because the powers that be one day will come and try to shut it all down. They've already tried to do it once. They'll try again. So, anyway, I'm out. Hit that notification bell. Hopefully you can get a notification. And I'm out of here.